it's like an outlet for hate and aggression, and they're unaware. Like they're doing it with this like veil of honor. Like we're doing it for good. We're changing the world. But in my opinion, I think that if they really wanted to do real change, like you got to do it with love. Like it's been, done before.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. We have OG cast member.
Oh my God, it's been so long, man.
Joseph, a Japanese Keiseki Jitsukawa.
Jitsukawa aloha.
Yeah, bring that mic up a little closer to you.
Oh yeah, hello, man. How's it going, dude? It's been so long, dude.
Well, you were in Jersey doing mushroom things.
Yep.
This is the most random shit. Like, if you guys ever follow Joe on Instagram, you'll never know what you're going to find out. Like, because of like Corona thing, everybody was kind of separated out for a little bit. And I would just get updates through Instagram story. And the next thing you know, I see this fool growing mushrooms in his fucking living room.
Yep. I know, it's freaking crazy. I'm actually like in partnership with a mushroom farm now. And like, I've been saying, man, I want that farm life. I just came back. I was driving tractors. I was fucking riding pickup trucks and everything.
This was a breakup did wonders for him. No more. No more. The fucking sugarcane fight is no more.
No, it's happening, man. People thought I've been like just joking around, and I'm like, nah, dude. I'm getting into the farm life. Like, it's gonna start with mushrooms, and then I'm gonna build something out in Hawaii. Like, it's gonna happen.
Is it pretty easy to grow mushrooms?
Yeah, I'll hook you up with one. I'll show you how to do it and everything.
I want to fucking make mushrooms.
Because the way that it's done, so the number one crop is shiitake.
Yeah.
And the mushroom farm that I went to, they do oyster mushrooms, and they do like, they're going to start doing maitake and all that stuff. But shiitake is like their number one thing. And, like shiitake is a part of Japanese, Korean, Chinese cooking. Like we grew up on that shit. But the way that it grows is on wood, man. Like in nature, it grows on wood like this.
Oh, really? It doesn't grow on like in like loamy soil or dirt?
No, it doesn't. It grows on wood. Like it. So like if, like I don't know, like the spores get on the branch or whatever, right? And then like it uses that for nutrients.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's so interesting because right now, ever since COVID, I've been trying to grow my own shit.
Yeah.
Right. So I got 2 little fucking tomatoes coming out, and those 2 tomatoes are going to be the most delicious thing ever. But because of that, that's why I'm itching right now, because I just been getting bit up.
Yeah. You know what? And because we live like 5 minutes away, but ever since like, okay, so when it hits sundown, if you're in your backyard or anything, there's a wave of mosquitoes that come.
That's exactly what happened. Because
if you do it in the hot sun in the midday, it's fine.
I got fucked up because last night I was just checking the soil to see if it was moist or some shit.
Yeah.
This shit might bore the fuck out of you, but you have no idea. Ever since COVID, I've been like picking up random hobbies, and specifically gardening is one of them. So you have to check to see if the soil is moist because it's been hot and weird. And I was out there for maybe 10 minutes, and I got bit the fuck up, dude. I have like maybe 12 mosquito bites on me right now.
Dude, you'd be surprised, like, no shit, a lot of people are getting into gardening, and millennials are the biggest group right now at 30%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the biggest emerging group of gardening. Like, people are really trying to connect to nature. There's something so human about it. Like growing your own food, touching it, feeling it, watching it, and then you're just like, I didn't even have to pay for this shit.
I never thought that I would enjoy gardening as much, just because when I would see my parents do it, I'm like, that's some fucking old people shit.
Really? You never did it with your grandpa? Like, it was, to me, it's nostalgic because I used to garden with my grandma all the time. Let me tell you something.
The only thing that I know about gardening is that my mom, when she would fight with my dad, she would go ahead and hide in a squash patch. And so she would pretend like she ran away, and then she would hide in the squash patch, and the next day she had 40 mosquito bites on her fucking face.
Oh my God.
That's what I know about gardening. But my mom has always had a green thumb. She grows a bunch of our shit. Like even at home, I have a bunch of squash that I got, a bunch of plums from our plum tree, but I never tried growing it myself. Number one, I thought it was very difficult, which it kind of is at first. If you think like gardening is just putting a seed in the earth and then you just walk away.
For a lot of things it is.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's a little bit more than that.
Yeah. It's a little more difficult, specifically when it comes to the type of vegetables that you're growing. And it's interesting because like, it's not like my mom looked this stuff up on Google or whatever, but it's stuff that she learned because she grew up in like the Shigold area, which is like the farm rural area. So she knew how to grow shit. And then, she was teaching me how to make sure the soil is nice and moist, not to overwater it, because you could overwater plants, you could underwater plants. If you don't have enough fertilizer, if you have too much fertilizer, it'll die. Fuck these things, man.
That's tight.
But that's why I have two tomatoes growing right now.
Just two.
Just fucking two.
Did it turn red yet?
No. Well, these ones are these yellow zebra varieties.
Oh,
so
shit.
they're yellow and they have green stripes in them.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna eat the fuck out of those two things. It's gonna sweet. It's gonna take fucking another 2 months for them to mature, so like a month or so.
Well, I mean, once it starts going though, by next year it'll probably be like going.
Yeah, because now that I understand how to grow, like I didn't know either, because in our area right now there aren't a lot of bees, so I actually have to pollinate the flowers myself. And so the tomato plants, people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Listen to this shit. I've been studying this for 2 months. I don't give a fuck what you guys want to listen to. I found out that tomato plants, if the bees won't pollinate them, they're actually self-pollinating. So all you have to do is shake the flowers, and the pollen they'll cross pollinate that way.
Yeah, and then it fruits.
And then eggplants, if there aren't any bees around, the male and the female parts are within the flower, so you just have to take a Q-tip and then rub the female part pollen into the male part, which is the middle of the stamen. Middle part is the stamen. And so I didn't know that shit. So all my flowers were falling off.
Damn.
So I thought I was underwatering that shit. And then when I woke up the other day, I had like 3 eggplant flowers that fell off. I was pissed because they were supposed to be eggplants, but I didn't pollinate them. That's why.
I got bit by a hornet yesterday checking on my fig plant.
A hornet?
My fig tree. Yeah,
what
dude.
What the fuck does that feel like?
They attack you multiple times. So like they just get like it's right here. My fucking calf is more on my right is more swollen.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's more swollen on the right? It went right on my fucking shin right there. And then I was just checking my figs, and then this hornet came and it just went straight to my calf. And it bit me, and I was like, what the fuck? And I kind of swiped it off, and then I was walking around, and it came back at me again, and it was around my ankle. And I was like the cartoon where you try to run and you look for a fucking lake so you could jump in the water. I was like, so Pat's staying with me right now. He's working out in the garage. And at the same time, I was running through that fucker, like hoping the hornet like left me alone. And yeah, it fucking sucked.
It's weird. Now that I'm at home a lot more, because before I was traveling a lot doing senfus or whatever, number one, I'm getting to know the neighbors more. And number two, I get to hear all the fucking neighbor drama.
You're so old.
Dog, I'm such an old person.
Such an old man.
I'm an old harmony, dude. Like I'm just listening to gossip.
Yeah.
I'm listening to gossip. I'm listening to other people's drama, and I'm gardening now.
That's tight.
So
the next level is you need to get a farm.
So our neighbors next to me, they're either, I think they're Middle Eastern or something like that, something of that area. But it's the funniest thing because I'm listening to the father and the son fight almost every other morning, right? They fucking fight nonstop. And it reminds me of me and my dad when I was younger.
Oh, really?
Right.
Are they around your like when you're younger? Or?
I think the son is probably in his mid-20s. And so I'm listening to that shit. So he's not that much younger than me, but listening to it, I'm like, fuck, I kind of want to go over and counsel them. It's like, this is not the way. But I've recorded it
really
on my phone multiple times. And I'll show it to you later. But this literally, their conversations are the constant thing of an immigrant father not knowing how to talk to his son.
Yeah.
Because you know how immigrant dads are very aggressive with what they say and how they say
They'll
things.
just say you're stupid.
Exactly.
Straight up. Yeah.
So that's how the dad talks to the son. And so the son gets fucking fed up with it. So just the other day I woke up to this conversation, and I shit you not, it was him saying, you know what your problem is you're a fucking asshole. You're a fucking asshole. Every morning I'm trying to work. I'm saving up money to make sure you and mom are going to be secure when you're older. I'm working my fucking ass. When have you ever said good job? Have you ever told me good job?
Oh, shit.
You know, and so he's asking for approval.
Yeah.
And then you see the mom just trying to get in between them.
Yeah.
And she's just like, please, no fighting, no fighting. I feel so bad for her because she's trying to be the mediator.
Yeah.
She goes, just go inside. Don't yell at the father. But just please go inside.
Are they fighting outside?
They're fighting outside.
So the whole neighbors can hear everything.
And the dad's like, I don't want you in this house. I'm going to take your clothes and I'm going to leave it on the ping pong table. And I want you to get the fuck out of here. Dad's telling him to get the fuck out. And it's like,
oh shit, dude.
And she goes, see, even grandma knows how you talk to me. Grandma doesn't like the way you talk to me. He goes, what the fuck does she know? What does grandma know? I take care of everything. They're screaming at each other. They do this almost every other day.
And just fight every day.
And it's always about how the son doesn't like the way the dad talks to him.
It's like your dad disrespect me too much.
But the son too also doesn't really talk to his dad very respectfully either. So they're kind of the same person.
Yeah.
So when the other day, not the other day, the week before that, I heard the son talking to the dad, and he was asking the dad to get him something out of the garage. Yeah. But the way he said it was hyper aggressive, right?
Really?
He was so the dad was moving the ping pong table, because I'm on the top level, I could see down.
Yeah.
So the dad was cleaning up stuff, and I woke up because he was moving the ping pong table, scraping against the concrete. So that woke me up, and I looked out the window. I'm like, what's going on? Dad's moving stuff. He goes, Dad, can you get me the stuff out the garage or not? And it's like, oh shit.
That's an attitude problem, boy.
She's about to pop off. So his dad looks at him. He goes, "What?" He goes, "Why can't you get the fucking shit out the fucking garage?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna go down." So he goes, "See, you're always fucking disrespecting me." And I'm like, "Bro, you kind of disrespected him first, though."
Yeah.
So they're kind of two of the same people.
Yeah, they're just blind to the way that they treat each other.
At first it used to annoy me, and now I look forward to it every other morning.
You know what the real problem is that ping pong table.
Yeah, they gotta get rid of that
shit, dude.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's funny, man.
And then the night before that, I have a neighbor, really super nice guy, and I actually talked to him before I left. But I guess after I left, Mariel texts me. She goes, "Dude, something's going on over there." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Another neighbor?
So the other neighbor that's right next to me.
Yeah.
So there's our unit complex, and then there's houses next to us. The first neighbor that I'm talking about is the house next to me.
Okay.
This is my unit neighbor, and I guess shit was being thrown, things were being busted, people were screaming at the top of their lungs,
like a fucking family fight.
Yeah, or something like that.
Shit.
But it was weird because I just spoke with the guy and he was in the best mood ever.
And then you put him in a bad mood?
No. No, we were just chopping it up. We were talking about the new Ford Bronco that was coming out. He was super excited because he just put a down payment on it.
Oh shit.
And then lo and behold, I leave, and then Mariel's like, "Dude, I think they're getting into like almost like a fist fight."
Whoa.
Because they heard like shit being busted and thrown.
Whoa.
And I was kind of shocked because those two people are like the nicest human beings I ever met.
What if they were having rough sex?
What I actually found out was that his wife is Korean. I was like, of course.
Oh.
I was like,
so he was getting in trouble?
I don't know what it is, but I was like, he was in a perfectly good mood before, but then once the Korean thunder came in, it fucked it all up. But he
That's so fucking funny.
Yeah,
dude.
so all of our neighbors were texting each other, and they were asking me if
you guys have a group chat?
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
So they're like, "Yo, did you hear what was going on yesterday?" I was
Wait,
like,
a group chat without him?
Without him, because they weren't sure. It sounded like somebody was getting their ass beat is what it sounded like. But
she was beating his ass?
I don't know, but
no one knows.
I know that the guy left.
Oh fuck.
So I actually just saw him before I came here.
Yeah.
And I saw him in his car, and he didn't park it in the lot. He parked it outside. So I'm like,
yeah.
Did he get his ass beat? I'm thinking like, did he get fucked up?
Damn.
I'm trying to figure out that mystery right now.
So your whole life's just been reality TV with the neighbors.
Yep.
I've always said the best reality TV is reality.
Oh, 100%.
Like a lot of the shit that we can't talk about, a lot of the things that we know behind the scenes of your favorite YouTubers, all that shit, I think that is better entertainment than some shit you watch on TV.
The social media life recently has been so weird because I think now you can't really keep secrets.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody that kind of put out a persona that they were this perfect human being, you kind of fucked yourselves over because all your personal stuff is now coming out to light because people can search and dig it up. There's stories that people have told about you, and because you guys weren't honest about who you were in the first place, now you're getting fucked over.
Yep.
It's sad.
But in our case, we've been scoundrels, fool. You can't fuck with me. I'm already who I am. Like, you've been knowing.
Yeah.
I put it out there. I cancel myself before anybody else can. Shit.
That was the dope thing. I think one of the things I was very proud about, or not, I wouldn't say proud, but we've always kind of stuck to who we were. Yeah. And even if we did have to apologize for stuff, there's no sweat off our back. It's like, we've made mistakes in the past. And if those mistakes in the past weren't mistakes then and they are now, and you feel a certain way about it, then I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, time keeps moving forward and we keep growing and learning, but I think we're a part of this culture right now where like no one is allowed to learn from their mistakes and they're not forgiven. So like if I fucked up when I was 15 and I said something, they're coming after me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of the unfortunate thing that's happening to a lot of people. But on the flip side, people aren't getting away with shit. Like the whole Me Too and all the fucking rapists and all these, you know, even the Epstein shit. Like, we're not letting that shit go. Where in the past, I think people would just kind of let it pass and just like, well, yeah, it's kind of what happens in Hollywood or whatever.
It's just too much of a blanket punishment for everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not fair, but I think it's just overcorrection. Like what I see is like what society looks like to me is like a pendulum, right? And then so you have one side and it gets too crazy. Like, for example, when, you know, World War II, you had Nazi in Hitler. Like, it goes so crazy to the point where like they're killing people because of their race, right? And then it has to correct to the side where it's super sensitive, and Europe is at the point where they never want to do that ever again. Yeah. But then it got to the point where maybe it might be too liberal, and there is a thing where being too liberal is also not good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird because I'm trying to navigate the way I view things too, right? Just because I feel like, because I started off as a comic, I can find any funny things in about anything. And I've always said this too, just because something particularly offends me, I've never outright said, cancel this person, make sure that they don't have a living and they'll never work again. Yeah. That's the odd thing for me, right? I have an opinion and I make jokes about how people are and how they behave, depending on who they are in their current state. You know, I talked about this on the podcast before, but there's this guy, he was a part of Eater. I think he still is now, but he had the show called the Meat Show, right? And back in the day, he was a skinhead. He was a part of a skinhead like punk band, like a rock band or whatever. He had a SWAT stick, all that shit. Yeah. Would have never known that shit now, because now when you see him on his show, the Meat Show, he's really close friends with Asian chefs, people of all different cultures, very accepting, very warm. Yeah. You know.
So he kind of like went through it and he learned his lesson.
Exactly. And this was in his young 20s, right? Yeah. And so people were asking for him to be removed from the show and really? Whatever, and make a public apology. And in my mind,
for being a part of a skinhead group?
Yeah, when in his 20s. Yeah. And, you know, he's like in his 40s now. That's or something.
It's like we all kind of did stupid shit when we were young, and we were like me, I mean, I did crime and I was a part of a gang, and like, should that always haunt me? Because after that, I learned so much about the world and absolutely changed as a person. And I think that everyone has that opportunity to do that, you know. And it sucks that if this guy is still being haunted from what he did in the past or whatever.
Yeah, because even people, for example, like people that I like Eddie Huang said that people should be forgiven for his mistakes, but he still should be fired. And I completely disagree with that. And I fuck with Eddie Huang a lot, you know?
He should be fired because of why though? Like, what's their argument?
I don't know. That's the thing. I think Eddie Huang, I mean, he did a post about it on Instagram, but he was talking about how, he may have gotten better, whatever, whatnot, but he still should lose his job and he could continue his job elsewhere. But it's like, for what though?
But if he got a job elsewhere and then he gets canceled every single time, that's like really, you know, he did the time, he paid the crime, or he learned his lesson, but then he didn't get, no one's accepting it. Like, no one's accepting that he's grown from it. Exactly. Basically, that's what it says, right?
And it's just a cyclical issue, right? Because you know, we could even go ahead and talk about the whole Kevin Hart issue when he made those old stand-up jokes, and people were saying that he was perpetuating, you know, violence against the homosexual community, right? But if you look at a lot of stuff too, I'll bring up Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy used to say faggot in his stand-up sets all the time. Yeah. During that time, that was a funny word, right? It was a funny word. He said all this other stuff. People in the crowd, they were dying fucking laughing. So if you're saying that a majority of people were offended in that stadium of like 4,000, 5,000 people were crying, laughing from his jokes, it's a representation of the times. Times have changed. And even Eddie Murphy now, he did an interview where he was talking about some of the jokes that he said against like the LGBT community, and he regrets it. He goes, at the time, I thought it was funny, and I look back at it now and it makes me cringe. It makes me feel terrible.
Yeah, the times change. Yeah. And what sucks is that right now we're judging the past based off of our current morals.
It's not fair.
And to me, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you got to do it in perspective of that era. Yeah. And to me, it's not a question of right or wrong. It's about understanding and having empathy. For example, right? Like, a lot of people will try to make the excuse and they'll be like, well, it was fine because back then it was okay. And then they try to be excused. But I think that that's where people get pissed, because it's like, it's not about that, man. We just want you to understand that that's not okay anymore, right? And I think you can have that conversation, but to really look at someone and being like, for example, like Asians weren't always the greatest, like we didn't always have the greatest roles in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
But it's almost like blaming an Asian actor who played a role of a racist character, and you're just like, fuck you, you fucking backstabbing bitch. Like, you're such a two-faced, like, oh, I can't believe you're such a race traitor. Like, it's almost like saying those things to that actor when that was the only opportunity that they had. And at that time, you know, no one was even thinking about that. Like, you know, so it's to me, I'm like, it's also a lot of people who haven't lived life. I think a lot of people who have a lot of judgment, a lot of like hate and anger towards like injustice and whatever, especially young folk, right? Like, they haven't made a lot of mistakes in life. So I remember I had a really high sense of justice to this point where like, I would be like, I can't believe that these people can't hold a marriage together because they're so fucking selfish and they want to cheat, or like, you condemn people for their actions. And you don't have any type of empathy for people making mistakes. And I think that's what's kind of dangerous about, in my opinion, it's the youth, right? Because like, they haven't lived all the way. They haven't made that many mistakes. They have formulated arguments and thoughts, but that hasn't been tested. Like, sure, they've lived up to a certain point, but like, we all know people who made tremendous mistakes, and then the more years you are on this earth, you're going to make a fuck ton more, and you're going to reflect back. And it just makes more sense to understand, like, and use this experiment that we're all going through as a way to go like, okay, like, we're humans and we keep making mistakes. Let's learn from it. But the point is to move on and like talk about it, instead of just being like, oh, this guy, he's a Nazi, but you know, afterwards he changed, he learned, whatever, but he still can't work anywhere for the rest of his life. Yeah. It's like the same thing, you know, like, what if someone was a gang member? A lot of gang members are treated that way. Like, it sucks.
Because I mean, I think like a big question too for people who want to condemn somebody for the rest of their life and drag them, right? And I think it's easy for you when you're sitting there and you're behind a keyboard, right? Because you're not out in the spotlight. But I guarantee you, if I look deep enough and I looked into your fucking skeletons in your closet, you have probably done way worse things, or you have done stuff that's comparable to what they've done.
That's why it's that's like human. In the Bible, it's like he who cast the first stone. Yeah. You know, make sure you don't got no fucking crack in your system either, you know? and it's so easy to do this. Like, remember that kid, he was judging that white girl for wearing that Chinese dress.
Oh yeah, I mentioned that to you.
Basically bullied her, saying like, don't make my fucking culture your costume and all this stuff, and like, this is racist and all that. And then what we find out is that he was using the N-word. He was saying racist things
with a hard R.
against black people. And for me, I'm like, man, I don't know, like, who are these people who are like so judgmental, so angry, so hateful, and they think that they're not hateful, but what they're doing in cancel culture, like condemning others and like coming in and just, it's almost like this, right? Like, for me, I feel like, oh, if this guy was a fucking child molester or serial killer, it's okay. I could Dexter him. I could fucking kill his ass, right? Yeah. And I get to fulfill my killer fantasies because I'm killing a bad guy. I'm killing a demon. I'm not killing a human being. And I think that's kind of what's happening in our society right now, where people are like these justice warriors, right? And they're like, well, this person's a bad person, so I can talk as much shit and put them in their place. So they're really, it's like an outlet for hate and aggression, and they're unaware. Like, they're doing it with this like veil of honor. Like, we're doing it for good. We're changing the world. But in my opinion, I think that if they really wanted to do real change, like, you got to do it with love. Like, it's been, you know, done before with MLK and Gandhi and all the greatest. But no one does that path, right? Everyone wants to destroy and like, sure, they're not physically violent, but their actions, and they're motivated by a negative feeling, which ends up turning into destruction, like when you're just hatefully expressing, when you're going into these people's DMs and just talking mad fucking shit, like you're not creating change, you're not informing anyone. There's no justice happening. It's just spilling anger out.
I mean, it's almost like some of these kids, like they get like a hard on for this shit.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they get public praise for it. They're like, you love this. You know, one of the things too,
you called them out, you did this.
Yeah.
It's like fucking
when
crazy.
I was doing those, you know, those rant videos, right? That's what I used to do back in the day all the time.
Yeah.
It's like it's serious talk, but there's a lot of comedy, and it's me roasting the fuck out of somebody, right? And a lot of people have been wondering, it's like, you haven't done one of those videos in a long time. That shit eats away at my soul. Like it's not something that I thoroughly enjoy, hunting for people to make their life miserable.
I mean, you did it sporadically when you felt the motivation.
Exactly.
Because you just saw some injustice and you're just like, well, let me roast this fucker because what they're doing is it doesn't go along with what I think.
And so, you know, we did like 5 or 6 videos on that, right?
Yeah.
And there, you know, people are waiting for more. It's like, you have to understand that shit. If I'm not passionate about the subject or the topic at hand right now, I did 5 or 6 of them. It's just me being repetitive, and I'm just kind of using this just to, it makes me feel like I'm using something very important to gain fame from it. And I don't want that, because now the attention is not on what's going on here. It's about me. So it makes me feel very weird, you know. And one of these kids too, I've even messaged them. I was like, hey, if you want me to take my video down, just apologize, and then I'll remove it. Easy stuff.
Yeah.
And he told me to fuck off, and I was like, cool.
Okay.
And then he deleted his whole thing. So I'm like, you know, it's not like I'm out here to ruin your fucking life, bro. But you put out a public statement, a very disrespectful and racist public statement.
Yeah.
So I put one out to disrespect you back. That's all that it is. And then now you can't take the heat.
Yeah.
Well, you're the one who brought it upon yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody asked you to say these public opinions on a public forum in that type of way.
Yep.
You know, which is the odd thing, which I want people to understand. Like when we put stuff out, you have to realize if it's not perceived the way that you want it, that's not everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
The public gets to perceive whatever they want to perceive.
Right.
Like that's their choice.
It's your job to communicate things clearly.
Yeah.
And if the majority don't understand you're the problem.
Yeah. And there was so there was that girl who called the cops on the black guy in New York, where he was the bird watcher. I'm sorry, I forgot his name.
Yeah.
And so
I thought that she's gonna be in she's going to court or some shit.
Yeah, she's
They're
going
creating
to court.
a law behind everything. Yeah. What about it?
So even for him, when he was saying, I saw an interview that he wrote, that he was not that he wrote, but he was in an interview where he was saying that the purpose of this, he doesn't want her life to be ruined. He doesn't want her not to be able to get a job again. Yeah. None of that stuff. He he was correcting an injustice. Like, this wasn't right.
Yeah.
You know, so when we had this conversation, even for him, he's not here doing it out of a place of hate.
No.
It's just more like, this is wrong. I need to correct it. And for him, he didn't particularly enjoy how people were attacking her. You know, he goes, I don't think you should attack her per se, but this should be highlighted and this should be a problem that's fixed. Yeah. She has every person that has fucked up recently in that type of sense has an ability to change in the future. 100%. And I think for me too, I have to really think about, okay, how can I, if it's really that important to me, how can I make this person change for the better? If I want them to, you know.
But sometimes people need a good roasting.
Oh, for sure. I feel like some of these motherfuckers, if they didn't get called out in the first place, like that dude who was out in Monterey.
Oh, the one that was the British guy that was talking shit to the Filipino family.
Yeah,
that guy's a moron, dude.
He
dug his grave even further. You know that? After his public apology, he got caught talking shit like, I didn't even mean it anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude, fuck that guy. You know what's so funny? He's like, get out of this country. It's like, bitch, you're an immigrant. Like, you're not even American. Like, shut the fuck up.
What the fuck is he talking
about?
You're
not even a citizen, dude.
What the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So he's not even an American dude. He's like UK.
I'm like, can we deport this guy? Because we don't want him here.
What in the fuck?
Yeah.
So after that, it was another public statement, or did somebody out him out because he was like
Yeah, so it was he was outed because, you know, people were talking to him in the DMs and he would just talk shit right back, and then they screenshotted it, and then it's been everywhere.
That's why some of these public apologies, people don't want them anymore. they want to see action instead. So it's like, okay, cool. You wrote a public apology. That's fine. But let's see, put your money where your mouth is. Let's see it in what you contribute to, how you go about things, the rhetoric that you have. Because
and his partner's Korean, dude. His business partner's Korean.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think his brother's wife is Asian.
My people.
Yeah, well, they probably might have not known, or maybe they're getting bullied by this guy. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by Fiverr, my friends. Have you ever needed freelance work that was reliable, but you just couldn't find it? Well, that's because you haven't heard of Fiverr. 2020 has been the year of uncertainty. So how can your business plan for the unexpected? Well, guess what? You do that by hiring reliable freelance work to get stuff done that you can't get done. Fiverr's online marketplace connects businesses with freelancers offering hundreds of digital services, including graphic design, copywriting, web programming, film editing, and a bunch more. I've used Fiverr for a whole bunch of stuff. Like if I ever need a website stuff to be done on the fly and I don't have time to do it, or there's certain things that I don't know how to do, I always hit up Fiverr. The pricing is there. I don't have to negotiate anything. There's plans to when it will be delivered, and it's always been delivered on time. And it's just been a really easy experience for me finding freelance work. So check it out, guys. Check out Fiverr.com and receive 10% off your first order by using my code GB. Find all the digital services you need in one place at Fiverr.com, code GB. Again, that's Fiverr.com, code GB.
But it's just weird. But this guy's a scumbag, man. He has multiple DUIs. Like, he's like, I don't know. For me, like, people that are constantly drinking and driving, like, I feel like they don't give a fuck about the world.
The people that are like that, when I see, because some other people have been sending me videos of guys and girls who, or let's say men and women who have been doing a lot of these racist rants, but you look at them and they look mentally unstable.
Yeah.
It's like, who am I roasting for? Like, what is the purpose of this? This person is a mentally unstable person.
Most of them are, dude.
Yeah. It doesn't,
like, they're not a good representation of, like,
the norm.
Yeah, like, so that's why I'm just like, don't look at them and think this is how white people are. Like, we're stooping down to the level of racists if we think that a whole group of people is represented by this one dumb fuck.
There's been some weird conversations where I had to I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter where people are saying I mean, a lot of like that only white people can be racist, which is a very weird thing for me to hear a lot.
I get what it means.
Where did that come from? Like,
it comes from basically, like, I would say liberal thinking, and in sociology, if you want to get specific, right? When you think in layman's terms, when you think racism, all you think about is hate toward one group.
Yeah.
But what they've done is they specified it where white people can be, or you can be prejudiced. Like, black people can be prejudiced against white people, but white people cannot be racist against black people. Or wait.
Oh, the other way around. Black people can't be racist.
So white people can't be racist because the term racism is meant for a dominant majority who is running shit. So then, if you're a minority and you don't really run shit in this country or anything, then you're technically not able to be called. You can't be racist.
Is that by definition or interpretation?
It's a debatable definition, but is basically a lot of these like social thinkers. That's where they came up with that concept where, like, yeah. So I get it, but I think we also have to understand how people use the word racism is just hating one race.
Yeah.
That's how we all use it. So I think that there's just a mix up because, like, there's a lot of words where the specific meaning in like academia or in other places might mean something different, but then in the way that like everyday people use it is different. So that's why it gets confusing.
Yeah, because that's very confusing for me when I kept hearing that over and over, because to me, racism is just a subcategory of being prejudiced against somebody, right? Yeah. So if you hate somebody specifically based on their race or the color of their skin, whether it be white, brown, whatever that it is, you still can be racist. If we're talking about like systemic racism, I think that's a different subject. But I think in racism in general, if you look at a white person and say, I fucking hate you because of the color of your skin, it makes you a racist.
Yeah, to me, sounds pretty racist to me.
That sounds pretty fucking
and
racist
I mean,
to
white
me.
people go through racism, and like, you know, I met a guy who was he grew up in the islands in the Caribbean, and he was the only like white kid on that island, and you know, he got picked on, and that happens to a lot of white kids in Hawaii. You know, like, it's not a mystery, or it's not even a secret that a lot of white kids that grow up in Hawaii are picked on and beat up, and they had even this thing called Haole Day where they would just fuck up all the white kids. So I think anywhere in the world, if you're kind of the minority or the only kid in the town that's different or whatever, like, you're gonna get bullied. And I'm not saying that this is good or bad or whatever. It's just kind of human nature. Like, we tend to pick on things that are different from us. Like, it's very tribal. And I think the goal to me is to elevate everybody from being this kind of primitive human being to being next level, and kind of at that point, you don't see people in categories, and you don't see people in colors and us versus them, you know, like, you see them as like, oh, this intelligent being that just so happens to have a different looking vessel. Yeah. But a lot of people can't do that, you know?
It's because we even see that in the animal kingdom, right? Because you'll see, like, for example, you'll see a pack of animals. You'll see this all the time on Nature Channel. Well, you see a pack of animals, and there's one animal that has like albinism in it. Yeah. And then that animal tends to be pushed aside. They're not allowed part of the pack, and they push him out. And I feel like humans at the core of us, we're still animals. Yep. But then we should be elevated and smart enough to understand that, you know, we should be a little more inclusive than that. And it's true though, like, the majority always pushes out the minority. In no matter what case. It's just kind of sad that when people in this country, they're not allotted a lot of the things that other people have because of it. So it makes it a huge issue.
It's kind of a good time for me to plug in my relaunch of the 90 Days to Freedom, because we're on the topic of mentality and all that. But I launched this thing in January, right? I got about 1,000 students. And the whole experiment was to see if all of we see eye to eye on a lot of things. And it's because we've been through very similar experiences, owning our own businesses, being on YouTube, being in the public eye, all this stuff, right? And I'm like, my experiment was, how do I speed up this process for our audience, or for someone who's always been, looking up to us, but they don't know what the right things to do. Like, they're not provided with the right tools. The only difference is really from us and the audience is the way we think. Yeah. Not much is different, right? Like, unless they're extremely poor or super disabled physically or mentally or whatever, as long as you have an average intelligence, a lot of things that we're doing is highly achievable. And sure, it's easier said, you can look at us and be like, well, it's because you guys started YouTube early, or you have all the right networking or whatever. But that I don't really agree with, because it knocks down our work, like how hard we worked, how much rejection we got, how many mistakes we made, how much money we lost, like all these things. It just basically, when you call somebody lucky, you're not really saying that they did anything to get where they're at, right? And I'm not saying I'm this mega millionaire or anything, but for me, I find a lot of passion in teaching this. And for me, I wanted to figure out if I could create a system where I can get everything that I learned in the last 10 years and then condense it. And that's where 90 Days to Freedom was kind of born. And we did this in January. And now, things didn't really turn out the way that we thought in 2020. Like Rona, a lot of crazy shit happened. But the few that really stuck with it, what ended up happening was some crazy shit, man. There's guys that cleared their debt. There's people that worked out all these issues with their family members that they've been putting away for 15 years. There's so many things that went down, and the whole concept is it's not some get rich scheme, it's not really about making a ton of money or anything like that, but literally the whole concept of being free, right? When you hear that word, I think most people go oh, if I win the lotto, then I'll be free. Or if I finally find the girl of my dreams, I'll be free because like I don't have to date anymore or whatever, right? It's this idea of like, oh, once I get there, I won't have to do any struggles anymore. But how real is that? Like, it never works out.
Yeah.
It's always goal chasing, and then you're still stressed out because people out there, I think, at least for me, when I'm seeing almost everyone around me and the unsuccessful people, like it's because they're not literally free in their minds. Like they're constantly they're trapped in like their own thoughts.
Yeah.
And I think that to unlocking that became like this obsession of mine. And so I released this and I ran a survey with the alumni, and all the students that took it, they're just like, this is how you can improve on it or whatever. We just have a 2.0 version out, and I'm going to leave a link in the description. It's going to explain much more. You can watch that video, but if if this resonates with you, you're probably looking for something like this, because if you like Genius Brain, and we talk about this kind of stuff all the time, and you might be thinking like, how come Joe and David like think a certain way? Well, I think we think more free than the average human being. That's probably why. But yeah, I think go ahead and check out that video. But yeah,
it's weird when, I don't know. I feel we've grazed on this topic before, where there's a lot of people like they kind of talk down to themselves first before anybody else gets to, right?
Yep.
So before you guys even try something out, you already have a million reasons why you can't do something. And I think that's the hardest part to break out of, because that's something that I still struggle with a lot of the times too. It's not like when I say, hey, just go out there and do something. Verbally, it's very simple, right? And when I had I had this guy, his name was Cosmo, and he was a dating guy. And one of the things that he kind of said that was a little profound, and a lot of people kind of agreed and disagreed with what he was saying as somebody who's a dating coach. But something that kind of resonated with me that I really believe is that a lot of the times when we tell somebody just to do something, and we say that we have an answer for a solution, we never give somebody specifics in the house. Like, so for example, when he was saying that when a girl says this, when they give advice to another guy about how to approach a woman, they go, just be yourself. Cool.
No.
Well, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't know definitively what that is, it's such a broad thing to say, right? It's just be yourself. Or when you talk to them, talk about something fun. What is that? Yep. If somebody hasn't done that before, they've never been in that situation, or they're not comfortable with it, how does somebody do it? And that's true, because I've given that advice too, where I've told the guys like, hey, just chill, be relaxed, and just chop it up. Cool, David. How? Like how?
Especially if they have anxiety and they don't know how to control that anxiety. Yeah. Like there's just so many things, and you're completely right, man. And I think that's the whole thing to me, is like having a true like free mind is really not having that guilt, that insecurity, all those things that limit you.
Yeah.
And once you can like get past that, and you can be calm about any situation, and you can work through your thoughts, to me, that's the most liberating feeling. And you can be a millionaire, you could you could be broke, but once you have that, I think that that's really the recipe of just being happy.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
But I've seen it multiple times too, where people are like, well, I have this dream and I want to make a YouTube channel and this, and then like they'll tell me everything, and then they go, yeah, but here's the list of 10 excuses why they can't do it.
Yeah.
And they're not good enough. So I'm like, you wasted 1 hour of just telling me your dream and then shutting it all down, and I didn't say anything.
And I think the weird thing is too, is that when people want to try something new, they only want to try something new when there's a guaranteed success at the end of it.
Yeah.
Right? And nothing is fucking guaranteed.
Yeah. I think it's just scary. I think the whole thing, well, for one, I know why people do it. I know why people talk themselves down and all that stuff. But I think it usually happens at an early age where you feel some type of pain, emotional pain, hurt, regret, for doing an attempt trying something out.
Yeah.
Or you had someone close to you that hurt your feelings because they laughed at you, they kept telling you that you can't do something. Or you have a parent that is really fearful, and they don't want to see you hurt emotionally or physically, and then they constantly reinforce this thinking of being a coward or being fearful of the world. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. You're gonna fail. You're not gonna be able to make it, right? So like when you have these controlling parents that are constantly telling you that's not gonna work, that's risky, whatever, it's kind of like brainwashing. Literally, you've been hearing this for 10 years, and then even though you start becoming your own person, you start forgetting how you got programmed, and then now you're in high school and you don't you're an adult and you realize things aren't as crazy as your mom says it is. She's just paranoid, right? But for you somehow cannot find the courage, because every time you want to try something different, whatever your mom did or your dad or whatever, they injected their fears into you now. So people don't realize like that you're being constantly programmed by the people around you.
Yeah. One of the things too that I see a lot of people do, and this is kind of more on the negative side of things, is when they see other people do what they want to do, like they're kind of, I wouldn't say fearless, but they swallow their fear and they pursue what they want.
Yeah.
They'll try to knock that person down a lot just because they can't do it themselves.
Yeah.
And it's easier for that person just to be like, oh, you're not that dope. Like you're not going to succeed either way, because it makes them feel comfortable when you're kind of brought down to their level.
Yeah,
I think another fear that a lot of people have is that when you become successful and you start doing better things, that you can't bring other people up with you. But at the end of the day, that's also their responsibility. You know, they have to take it in their own hands to kind of be successful with you. You'll see this a lot when you grow up. There's a lot of people that you're going to grow up with and you're going to separate from them, not because you hate them, not because of any of that stuff. It's simply just because you guys grew apart. You guys have different goals. They're not in the same part that you were. And if you're scared of becoming successful because you can't bring these other people along, you'll just be in that hole for the rest of your life. You'll find like-minded people, or you might even inspire these other human beings. You don't really know.
And I mean, we went through that where we had to shed people from our lives because, you try your best to bringing them up, but they're just not ready, or they don't want you to help them, you know? And it sucks. Like, it's heartbreaking because you care about them and you want them to do good. But at the same time, you are your own person and you have your own goals. And if you put others in front of you to that point, now you're hurting yourself. Yeah. And it's a balancing act, man. It's hard. This whole game of life. I think you're right. Like, there's a lot of people out there that think that just because you're successful, it's a reflection of them being unsuccessful. So they can't root for you. And for me, I'm like, well, fuck them. I don't want people like that around my life.
Or they'll try to take your success and say that the reason why you're successful is because of them.
You remember that time I told you to be a comedian? That was all me.
That was me, motherfucker.
Like, really, just one sentence of encouragement. 20 other people encouraged me too, fucker. Yeah.
I think I told the story before, but when I came to LA, and this is years after I came here, and YouTube kind of sparked my career to kind of open up and do other things. I got this random letter from a dude, and he was a comic as well, and we were doing comedy together.
Did he write a letter? Like, he wrote a handwritten letter?
It was through Facebook, I believe. It was like a Facebook
I was like imagining somebody with a fucking quilt. This fool had a fucking feather pen, and he goes, "Dear David."
This is my candlelight. And he starts dotting it with the fucking... But he wrote it through like a Facebook message or something, and then he kind of needed to get something off of his chest. And basically what he wrote, just in summation, he was saying that when I moved to LA, he was expecting me to take him with me. And I was like, first of all, bitch, what the fuck are you talking about, you grown ass fucking man?
Yeah.
I was supposed to take you with me? With what money?
Were you guys supposed to be partners?
Or in his mind, he created this whole narrative about us being successful together.
So you backstabbed him.
It's like, no, bro, we're both supposed comics.
Yeah.
You do your thing, I do my thing. If we do stuff together, things pop off. I never had this responsibility of bringing you up with me because I gained more fame.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm down to help you out.
So you guys did comedy together back in...
Not even together. It was just, we were just buddies, and first of all, we weren't even that close. Like, we really weren't. Like, the only time we met up is to do comedy, like comic stuff together, like stand up, right?
Maybe it was special to him.
It was he lived in his own fucking world.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so, we had a goodbye thing. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna move to LA. I'm gonna pursue this stuff.
And he just kept it in.
Yeah, he was upset because I didn't say, hey, you should move with me. Like, bitch, I'm worried
That's
about myself.
dude.
You're entitled to my hard work,
Fucking crazy.
And so when I left, it was like 3 or 4 years later, and he kind of wrote this whole long diatribe. He goes, I hadn't talked to this dude in a while. He kind of just disappeared on me, right? And I just kind of assumed, he's out doing his stand-up grind. I switched over to YouTube, so maybe he's being really successful in stand-up.
How offensive, dude.
Yeah,
you didn't fucking help me.
Yeah, what a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
And so this guy, in the letter, he basically wrote that it was kind of like a backhanded compliment, which already ticked me off, And he goes, well, I see that you're doing well. You're doing big things out there, blah, 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 blah. And I was first happy because I haven't heard from him in a while. He goes, I'm out here in the Bay Area doing stand up. He goes, I'm killing it out here, all this other stuff. And I'm like,
it's so funny when people say that. I'm killing it. You should see me.
Yeah. Which already was a weird part in that letter that he wrote. And he goes, I just want to tell you that I was a little offended that you didn't take me with you when you went to LA, which I was like, what the fuck does that mean, bitch? Are you my son? Are you my child? You grown ass fucking man, puss boy. And he was basically saying, I wish you would have taken me, but I was a little, I'll be real with you, I haven't talked to you because I was butthurt about that. I was like, I thought you were just doing your thing. I thought you were just doing stand-up and everything was good. And
what a weakling.
And here's the worst part of the letter that pissed me off. And this is what I had to write back to him because I was so mad. He wrote, I just want to say that, I know that you popped off and things are going great for you, but I'm writing scripts, I'm writing films and whatnot. And, I'm going to do big things. And I just want to say that even though you popped off, I don't think that ever meant that you were a better comic than me. Like, I think I was better than you, but you just had a better opportunity, which I don't know why he wrote that.
Why is he competing with you? Like,
I didn't know. And by the way,
just to let you know, I'm fucking better than you.
I was mad supportive of him, right?
Yeah.
Even though he sucked. Like, I might be able to find some of his stand-up on YouTube, and you will be like, this is the worst stand-up comic on earth. And I was still mad supportive of him.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, cool. So I just wrote back to him. I was like, number one, cool, I'm glad that you're doing well. Number two, I said, you're not a better comic than me. If you were a better stand-up comic than me, then you would be where I'm at right now. But you're not. And you're still waiting tables, doing bullshit. So when you get to my fucking level, when you get to my, and I've never stunted on somebody like this, right? But I was like, but when you get to my fucking level, you let me know, then we could have this conversation.
Yeah.
And I just ended it that way. It was such a rude, disrespectful thing to say. Like, I've never thought ill about this guy. But this is what I'm talking about. Like,
you just never know who's hating on you. When you're just breathing and you're just like, well, I don't know, man. We have a lot of them in the comments too.
It was such an odd thing because I was always supportive of him. I just never gave him handouts.
Yeah.
Like, I never give anybody fucking handouts, right? If we work together, we're collaborative. I'm not here to hold your hand.
And what a coward, because if I felt that I was backstabbed by you or hurt or whatever, I would text you and be like, David, can I talk? Like, dude, I thought we were going to LA together. Like, what's going on? Like, like, do it immediately. Why is he waiting
4 years?
4 years and he's still thinking about it. And he's probably telling all these people like, you know what, David did me dirty, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Okay, I'm glad. See, this is the thing is like, aren't you glad when you find these things out about people that you left them in the dust, right? Why do people hold on to people? Like, you're holding on to a lot of trash is what I'm saying. Is like, there's so much gold out there. There's so many great human beings, right? And I see people feeling like they're not going to be able to replace this person or they're going to be lonely. But it's like, for example, imagine if you stayed in Sacramento and you stayed friends with this person or acquaintance and you held them and you didn't want to come to LA because you were afraid to like fucking offend this dude. Mm-hmm. Right? Because maybe you found out from someone that he didn't want you to go to LA because he's not going, right? And then you made your life decision on this. And a lot of people make this fucking mistake. It's the same thing that hurts people so bad because they feel like they don't want to hurt somebody. They don't want to be an asshole. They don't want to be selfish and all these things, right? But this asshole is actually hurting your future and your career. Imagine if you didn't go and you didn't meet us and you didn't find other friends and build new memories with new people and all that. Like, you would have probably been working at the Men's Warehouse still.
Yeah, no,
I don't know, you know,
but that's
or
what I'm saying.
Taking over your parents'
it's like
business. I don't know.
Would that person have been happier if I just stayed in Sacramento, right, and just been busting tables with him for the rest of his life? It's like, first of all, dude,
he misses the friendship.
Yeah, you sound like an abusive fucking boyfriend, dude. You fucking scumbag.
Yeah.
And I just was so taken aback by what he wrote, you know, because in my mind, even though I hadn't talked to him in a while, we were so busy doing our own things. Like, he doesn't even. I came here with literally $200 to my name.
Yeah.
That's all I had in my bank account. I sold everything to come here, and it was like, okay, you could have done the fucking same. And by the way, he had more money than me because he was working busting tables and doing all this shit. He was getting good tips or whatever.
He needed you to take him.
I know. It's like, if you wanted to come here, you could have. And so people have this skewed perception of reality.
To me, it's he's a coward and he was never gonna be successful, because a successful person would be like, oh shit, you're going to LA, where are you gonna move to? And then they put themselves next to you. They'll be like, let's be neighbors. Let's fucking do this together. Because like, for me, that's what's always worked out for me. And successful people are just kind of invasive. Like, they don't know that they are, but they're just persistent.
Yeah.
You know, like, they just go and be like, oh shit, you're going? Well, I'll fucking invite myself too, because hey, 2 Sacramento buddies, right? Like, fuck, man, it's going to work out.
Yeah. And it wasn't just him too. He was also just a part of this group of another guy too. And he, you know, I heard through somebody else that he also felt that I just kind of left him in the dust. And
David made it. And
it's like, bro, your concept of even made it, I still haven't, quote unquote, made it, you know? So this is a lifelong journey. Yeah. And so the fact that you're trying to hang on to my coattails, which isn't much coattails to hang on to in the first place, is sad.
They wanted to be your Kevin Hart entourage, man.
Yeah. It's like, dude, I haven't even built myself up yet. Yeah. You know, like, this is still a learning process for me. I'm still super young.
You put me on, David, and we've been fucking friends. Like, we did the stand-up circuit together.
Yeah. And so the other guy too,
that's funny.
He was somebody that I used to like shoot YouTube videos for when I was learning how to use a DSLR. It was a Canon 60D, and I used to shoot videos for him all the time for free. I wasn't gonna do it for money because we were friends.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he later on, I heard through the grapevine, he goes like, yo, like, you kind of forgot where we came from. I'm like, where we came from, bro? I shot free videos for you. What the fuck are you talking about?
So you thought that you were a part of a crew.
Yeah.
And that you needed to move together.
Mm-hmm. Or some
shit.
Like,
who was gonna do my lightsabers for me? You know, like, who was gonna do the editing, the lightsaber editing, and
it was so dumb too. And this is why those two people are cowards, is because they felt this way for the longest time, and they never addressed this to me.
And then when they finally do, or they never did.
One of them never did, and the other one did.
Was the Facebook
message one, and they're actually really good friends with each other.
Well, yeah, they're probably sitting there talking shit about you all day. And this is what I tell people all the damn time, right? Like, a lot of people, they hold a lot of importance of like what people think about them. And I'm like, if you spend your life just worrying about what other people are going to think, because the truth is there's a lot of haters. They're just out there because there are a lot of people who are insecure. A lot of people are weak. A lot of people are just not able to go through life and take responsibility for their actions and shit like that. It's just the way it is, right? And if you lose to those thoughts, you actually spend all your time thinking about how to defend against them, how to reason with them, how to convince them that that's not who you are. And guess what? Before you know it, 10 years pass by, you didn't do shit because you spent 10 years trying to fucking make sure that the haters understood you.
Yeah.
And, so many people make this mistake, man. And then to me, I almost feel like it's an addiction. Like, I don't know why people just don't see the formula. Like, the formula is like, you don't fuck with it. Like, these things exist. People are just crazy. They have shit opinions. Why do you have to like battle it out?
Yeah.
Just work on you and develop on what you got to do.
That's the thing too. And, you know, I bring up these stories only to mention because I feel I'm glad that I made the choice to come out here. Right. Yeah. I'm glad that I made the choice to kind of pursue what I needed to do. Because when we look back on it, those two people, from what I've heard, they still aren't doing stuff in entertainment.
Yeah, I know. I hear from people that people are still talking shit about me from before. Yeah. And it's funny because I'm just like, yeah, but what do you got going on?
Yeah, and that's the weird thing for me, right? And when I hear that, I get not even sad, irritated, because like I'm over here like a dumbass thinking great things about you, fucking dick.
And it's like we were friends in my head, and then I find out that you never liked me, and what the fuck?
But this is where we mentioned before on this podcast, where people will sometimes only like you if you stay at the level that they're at. Yeah. And if you go above them, suddenly they think that you're better than them. And that's not it. You chose not to elevate yourself. I can't wait around for you.
Yeah.
And I'm always gonna, I have to look out for myself first. Not in the sense of I'm going to do stuff to step on people to get my own way. Yeah. I'm going to make my own path, right? And you should make your own path too. I'll never step on somebody to get to where I need to be, but I'm going to create the path that's the best for me, right? If you're not going to come along that way, I can only suggest like, hey, let's work on your shit too. Let's work on this together. But if you're expecting me to hold your hand all the way through, you're going to drown me. You know what I mean?
I know, right? And it's funny because I'm always offering, like, I'm an open book. Like, anybody that wants to talk or whatever, like, I'm there. But the funny thing is, right, like, people that in my past, they don't want to take that offer. Like, it's easier for them to just sit down and talk shit or whatever. Or people that have never even met me at all. Yeah. Like, I mean, we all have haters. Like, and that blows my mind. Because I'm like, well, you can hate me all you want. But, hey, man, if you want to have a conversation, you want to learn, like, you want to see how I did it, like, instead of just hating on what I drove or what I bought or what I have or who I fucked, I can just teach you how to do it so you can go out there and get it for yourself.
Yeah,
that's empowering. That's fun to do. And it's,
and nobody's
it's
gonna
crazy.
Do it. Nobody's gonna do it for you. You know, just when like those two people who used to be really good friends of mine, they expected somebody to be successful for them.
Yeah.
And it hasn't worked out for them. They're
freeloaders, man.
Yeah, they wanted to freeload their way to success, and they chose the wrong person. Somebody who's very aloof like me. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. You know, I literally had no fucking clue.
Yeah.
Damn, I fucking forgot about that guy. But that was one of those moments where I was so taken aback because I would always say great things about him. You know, even when his stand-up sucked, his stand-up was fucking hot trash. Like, just to put it in perspective, he used to open up with the stupid stand-up bit. He was an Asian dude, and he would talk about how small his dick was. The worst fucking thing to do ever. And just watching him do that, and just people being like, yo, bro, what the fuck are you doing? You know? And he just kept on doing that opening fucking bit, talking.
Never learned.
Never fucking learned. And he was like, my stand-up's getting better. I was like, no, it's not. Nobody laughed. Nobody laughed.
It's getting better because I'm saying the same thing, but now I said it 1,000 times.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who they do stand-up in a very weird way. And I say, if you want to do stand-up, this is not somebody who's a successful stand-up comedian. This is like me saying, being in these clubs and watching people who I think are really great. And I'm not bad at it, but I'm not great. So there's some people who are funny, and there's some people who I call it, they learn stand-up comedy like it's from a book.
Yeah, they're just robotic.
Exactly. Yeah. So they go, so when you do a joke, you do this, this, and this. Don't be that comic.
Yeah.
And that's what the comic that he was. He kind of read a book about how to do stand-up
comedy. How to be funny.
Exactly. And
if you need a book on how to be funny, you're probably not funny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like you talk to these guys, you have a conversation with them, you know, in the green room or whatever, you're just chopping it up. And they're just like the most unfunny human beings I've ever met in my life. It's like, how is their stand-up going to be funny? And you see them go on stage, and they're the most unfunny fucking comics.
It's the Joker.
They do stand-up comedy sets, right?
Yeah.
They do the intro, the setup, the punchline, but it sucks, right? So, and you could always tell that in conversation when you talk to these people. I'm like, oh, you're just not a really funny person.
There's no heart.
Yeah, there's no heart. There's no perspective.
There's no thought.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that wraps up this episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. Joe, plug in your 90 Days to Freedom.
90 Days to Freedom. It's out right now. Like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to have a link in a description. You can click that. It's going to take you to a video. You can watch that. It'll explain everything. It's really amazing. You guys got to just see it for yourselves. And also, if you're listening, then go ahead and type in 90 Days to Freedom and my name, Joe Jitsukawa.
Bing bow. Well, guys, we'll see y'all next time, and have a blessed day. If you have haters in your life, fuck them. Don't let people drag you down. Fuck them as well. And if you meet a pretty person, fuck them as well.
That's the best.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Later.